Yes, please.
So, Jai Bhim.
We are live?
A very good afternoon.
Yes, we are live.
Okay, okay.
So, Jai Bhim, a very good afternoon to all our viewers. On the occasion of 132 birth anniversary of Dr. B R Ambedkar, we have, we on behalf of Center for Dalit Studies have decided to deliberate upon the rising caste discrimination in Indian educational spaces. We would be discussing the change its inherent complexities, and the possible ways how to annihilate caste and thereby democratize the Indian educational institutions. Today, to discuss about the topic, caste supremacism, a death knell to marginalized caste students, we have two guest speakers who are prominently vocal in almost all the public spaces possible. Our first speaker is Subhajit Naskar. He's an assistant professor at Department of International Relations, Jadavpur University for almost 6 years. He has completed his higher studies from University of Hyderabad and JNU New Delhi. Subhajit has been academically interrogating Bengali Savarna supremacism in almost all socio-political economic spheres, or caste as a upper caste phenomenon, and how Dalit politics is trying to bring anti-caste ingredients in upper caste politics. He has interviewed by the Hindu and wrote many articles, including in the Indian Express, the Quint, the Life Law, the Wire, and EPW. So welcome, Subhajit, to this program. And Boopendra Kumar, our next speaker, Boopendra Kumar Ahirwar. He is an anti-caste scholar, activist based at SOAS, University of London. He researches and writes on agrarian political economy, politics of development, and social movements in India. As a first-generation learner, he believes in the democratic representation of marginalized communities in higher education and strongly support their representation. So it's always a pleasure to have you both in this platform. And of course, Boopendra, welcome to this program. I would now like to first invite Subhajit Naskar to dwell upon the topic under consideration. Subhajit, over to you.
And how much time do we have?
I think we can go for maybe 20 minutes or 25 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Rehna, for doing this discussion. Also, I'd like to thank Mallepalli sir, Mallepalli Lakshmaya, who is the chairperson of Center for Dalit Studies, Hyderabad, for conducting from the, to be the backbone of this program. And this is probably, the whole 14th April Ambedkar Jayanthi celebration, it has two kind of, inferences for me. One, two kind of inferences for the public out there. Different kinds of publics, of course. When I say this, the people from the privileged castes and people from the Avarna castes. So, in with regards to 14th April Ambedkar Jayanthi, what has happened is that this country has stereotyped this whole Ambedkar Jayanthi celebrations and all that. Thankfully that there is a holiday tomorrow. Supreme Court has declared that. But most of the Ambedkar Jayanthi is celebrated nowadays just as a very, very stereotyped celebration of any person who happens to be an icon. But Dr. Ambedkar basically goes beyond all of that. Cuts all the boundaries across. And he is someone whose whose birthday should not be celebrated as merely as a birthday, which is what I think we need to take cognizance of. His birthday should be celebrated as a day to celebrate democracy, equality, fraternity, liberty, and all of that. And also, the most importantly, the upper caste, those are engaging with the caste, be there in academia or in media or wherever, they should basically celebrate this day to interrogate their uh, caste privileges and caste based intergenerational sort of capital, be it social capital, economic capital, or political capital, and all of that. So this basically is the premise of my talk, and my talk is directly related to that how caste supremacism is denied by the people. Those are basically having castes. And when I say this, uh, we should remember that Dalits, Adivasis do not have any caste. They are not sanctioned or assigned any caste by Hindu Varna Vyavastha or Varna system. So this supremacism we have, and this supremacism is the one which basically puts the marginalized students from SC/ST categories, relegates them to the margin, be there in the campus or outside the conventional ideas of campus, in fact. So it's not really a well-knitted, academic talk. I feel I'm just I thought of basically going into a conversation kind of mode today, because this is for the first time, as I said, that this caste supremacism is probably discussed, on the occasion or on the eve of 14th April, which is when Dr. Ambedkar born. So, and this is really being done in, whether it's in academia or in broader public realms, private realms, in fact, or journalism, anywhere. The caste privileges are not being addressed. So there has always been a gauge on the Dalits and Adivasis, the historically oppressed Dalits and Adivasis, of course, the indigenous people. In fact, the films too. Rehna, I remember, wrote an article on this when there was a film that was released on Bahenji Mayawati, and which was where the main protagonist was probably Richa Chadda. So, and the way Bahenji, being a leader who comes from the oppressed section of the society, how she has been caricatured. So the heading which went in Indian Express was in the name of Savarna gauge. So which is what I think so basically some of us are trying to invert the gauge, which is fixed on, otherwise, as I call it, on the Dalits and Adivasis. So now let me sort of come to this specific discussion of what is this caste supremacism and how it has basically arrived in the campus, and arrived in a very, very big way. You not only in Indian universities, but you go to any other universities. I'm in touch with all of our all of the students, a lot of the students, let's say friends in SOAS or in other Ivy League universities and European universities, and they keep on telling me that look, brother, here the upper castes are very busy to archive. The upper caste professors, those have joined here as a scholar or as a academic researchers, they are very, very desperate to research and to look into Dalits and Adivasis, the SC/STs, but at the same time, they will never interrogate their own privileges, and they would not like to work on that. So now, my point is, or my premise of my discussion is that how this whole campuses are being built on caste, in fact, which is what I feel, and when I'm saying this, I'm making it as a statement. Dr. Ambedkar, you would remember, wrote in Annihilation of Caste that how caste has killed public spirit, how caste has destroyed the sense of public charity, how caste has made public opinion impossible, how Hindus public is his caste, how his responsibility is only to his caste, how his loyalty is restricted only to his caste, how virtue has become caste ridden, morality has become caste bound, and and there is no sympathy for the deserving, and there is no appreciation of the meritorious, there is no charity for the needy, suffering as such calls for no response. So so Dr. Ambedkar says that there is charity, but it begins with the caste and ends with the caste, and there is sympathy, but not for men of other castes. So so this is where I basically theorized it by saying, when Dr. Ambedkar says that you can't build a nation on caste, you can't build morality on caste. So I said that Indian campuses are built on caste, and which is why there are n number of caste based deaths by suicide and other things are happening. I mean, there are few those come to the public domain, but there are large number of victims. Those are basically every day struggling to survive or resist caste. This big elephant in the campuses, which is caste, and this big demon that is caste, and which is what I call caste supremacism. And you would remember that Dr. Ambedkar said that not only that when the people, those are upper caste, once they will get education, they will become more casteist, and they will become more caste supremacists. So it's not that there is a myth that if people are more educated, especially the upper caste, and then they will basically become anti-caste, or they will understand the evil of caste. But which is what is opposite, that has already been prophesied long back by none other than the founder of India's democracy, Dr. Ambedkar. And he said that the more and more this they get basically educated, so they will become more casteist. And I wrote about this in Quint in 2022, when there was a report which was published which was basically put up in the Indian Parliament, where the IITs, that how the IITs and IIMs have become the centers for upper castes, or or let's say in a theoretical term, centers for exclusion. So, and you remember that there was a student who basically missed the deadline to submit the fees in IIT Bombay, and his seat was denied. And it was not even his, and that student is a Dalit student, even it was not his recklessness. It is the technical glitch on the part of the IIT, technicalities. So, and he was not only denied IIT Mumbai seat, and where he scored very well in the ranks, where he had to go to the Supreme Court to get an order to get admission, that this is the case, and Supreme Court had to intervene, and the IIT Mumbai authority had the audacity, even after a lot of these arguments, to say that no, we can't accommodate right now. So this is the situation of this country, where the Supreme Court had to invoke Article 142 of the Indian Constitution to give direction to the IIT Bombay to sort of to take to accommodate this student, Dalit student. And this was a bench which was led by Justice Chandrachud, the present Chief Justice, and he says that. And he, in fact, himself said that this is what is the reality of caste, or what is the reality, social reality in this country we should see. But probably there is a lot of interventions of the diversity, lack of diversity in Supreme Court is going on. But that said, he basically said it, that the kind of difficulties a Dalit student had to go through is enormous, and we need to sort of take note of it. So this is the whole caste supremacist scenario. So I'm trying to flag off some of this scenarios to make the audience, or to make it clear that how caste supremacism or caste based hierarchies are being built brick by brick, not only in the campuses by the students, but by the administration. uh, mm, so in fact, it's basically am I audible, Rena?
Yes.
uh,
Now
yeah.
you're audible. Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry. And
That's
this is
okay. That's
also
okay.
this is also part of the discussion. I should basically articulate this point, that this is the state of the Indian public universities. I'm basically giving this lecture from the office room of my own university where I teach, Jadavpur. And the massive sort of underinvestment in the public sector universities. Look at, we are not given anything. We do not have a air condition in this humid weather, and we don't have a good office room which looks like office, academic office room. So, and a lot of this money has been invested in geo universities and other universities, and even though this university has been announced as a university with eminence, but this is the sad state of the government. And you all know that who are the people sitting in the government and their caste. They have stopped kind of investing in the public universities, and which is where, I mean, we are not even provided a essential thing in the in an public academic institution, which is an internet connection, seamless internet connection. And which is why, not that I'm getting I got disconnected, but this is what this is the whole norm, and this is the whole structure where there is a calculated, in a calculated way, public universities are being are forced to die without any proper essential services. And which is why Asokas and Sibnadas and others can flourish probably. Anyways, but I mean, this is also part of the discussion, because I'm sure all of us know that public universities are the most accessible points for the marginalized students. And if marginalized caste students, and this is where they get education, they can't afford to go to Jindal and Asoka and Sibnadar and other places, Amity. So, but this is, if this is how they are treated, and this is also part of this whole game of how marginalized caste students, wherever they are going, that has to there, that is, and sometimes the fee hikes are being done, so that marginalized caste students are being stopped at the gate. They can't enter into the universities, they can't enter into the institutes of higher educations, which is funded by the government. uh, mm, you have all enormous number of examples. So what I was trying to, the point that I'm trying to make here is this, Ajanta Subramanian's book on the cost of merit engineering education in India, where she has basically focused on IIT Madras, where even in fact very recently the news of deaths of some students and scholars have come. So her work basically lays bare the social reproduction of caste capital, you know. And Subramaniam writes, Ajanta writes that claim to merit at IIT Madras is only about the institutional reproduction of middle class Brahminness, which is a very, very important point, I think. Subramaniam, Ajanta herself acknowledges. And it is certainly the case that a regional history of caste formation has given merit a uniquely Brahminical inflection, So, but other examples reveal a structure of feeling through which merit is increasingly mapped not simply onto Brahminness, but onto an engagement form of upper casteness. This is what Ajanta herself says. So, so this and this is the exclusive reality of IITs and IIMs and Indian Institute of Science and all. So, in fact, Dr. Ambedkar dreamt of seeing science as a moral force of democratization. But today, the science spaces of India are basically significantly unmaking his vision. IITs and IIMs have basically ended up championing the process of reproducing upper casteness and Brahminness. And I wrote this in Quint last year. So basically, the language of merit in Indian academic discourses has been defined by the casteist prejudice, that basically alienated historically oppressed castes struggles for recognition. And IITs, IIMs, central universities, state universities, the government funded state universities, they are basically thought of by the constitution. In fact, the champion of constitutional morality, Dr. Ambedkar, that this should be the biggest spaces for lower caste mobilities and this public universities. But now there has been so much of underinvestment in the public universities that these have become, in fact, the IITs, IIMs, even central universities have become spaces that basically consolidate the privilege of the upper caste and Brahmins, and which is why I call the campuses in Indian campuses are built. And this is the basic premise of my discussion, is that Indian campuses are built on the idea of caste supremacism. So and which, as Dr. Ambedkar says, that if a nation can't exist on caste, or there will be crack if it basically exists. So which is what is happening in the Indian public university. So now we all know that what is the kind of data in front of us as far as the IITs, IIMs, and in fact central universities are concerned. So basically, in fact, I wouldn't resist to say this, that there was an IIT directors panel, along with the government officials, which basically said that which was basically constituted by the central government to suggest measures for the effective implementation of reservation policies in recruitment and in admissions. But look at this mindset of this panel, which is, I'm sure that IIT director, when we say IIT directors, most of the directors are upper castes. 99%, I'm sure, and I can tell you with a lot of confidence, because professors, I mean, there is another data which is also shared by by the government, none other than the government, that SC/ST professors are nearly zero in IITs and IIMs. Very maybe one or two, and there is a data, and this is not. I mean, we are not making any assumptions, but we are making a statement. So, this whole, panel. Let me come back to the panel of the IIT directors, which was basically constituted by the government. The committee was basically headed by IIT Delhi director, the fellow named B. Ramagopal Rao. He went on to suggest and look at the mindset, and these people are heading the IITs of this country, which is the public institutions, not in fact government institutions. I mean, we all are kind of aware of what is going on in the private sector institutions. There is zero representation. But what I'm saying is that this panel of the IIT directors suggested to de-reserving the reserve faculty post within a year, if there is non-availability of SC/ST or OBC candidates in faculty positions. So this is being suggested by a IIT directors panel. So when you see a death of Darshan Solanki, it's not that one accused who's been named by Darshan Solanki, Arman Iqbal Khatri, not only that fellow, but these IIT directors are saying that is their mindset. The IIT directors panels, mindset, anti-SC/ST OBC student mindset, that they are saying they are so desperate to de-reserve a reserved, sort of faculty post, and which is what I, being a faculty, can tell you, that there has always been a desperations in the administration, which is in this country run by the upper caste, academic institutions, every other institution, but academic institutions particularly, and how desperately they they get so much annoyed when there is a reserve post advertisement comes. And even though there is a lot more in every department, every university, from the vice chancellor to the registrar to the IIT directors to the faculties, deans, you do a mapping. It's all the upper caste, Savarna and Brahmins. They are dominating all of this decision making and policy making position. So in fact, the Minister of Education in Parliament revealed massive social disparities in PhD intakes at IITs, and this 2021 data shows that how casteism and social exclusion have become deeply ingrained in IITs, and the data says that in IITs at Kharagpur, in Indore, IIT Delhi, IIT Gandhinagar, IIT Tirupati, IIT Mandi, IIT Bhubaneswar, how the general category students, those mostly come from upper caste, they form 51%, 40%, more than 52%, and that kind of applications come from the upper caste, and look at the representation when they are taken for the admission. They are given 60%, 70%, 74%, 80% of entry. So in fact, if you are clubbing SC/ST OBC's population proportion, it's more than 75% easily. And this upper caste, they are because of their social privilege, intergenerational privileges, they are given the chance like 62% and 70%, even more than the applicants. So who is having the reservation? So the caste-based which is what Ajanta calls the Brahminness and upper casteness, is basically reproduced not by the society but by the policymakers. Those are of course from the same community, like these upper caste applicants mostly. IIT Vilai has a very important case here. IIT Vilai has not accepted PhD applicants from SC and ST communities, despite receiving applications, good number of applications. So most of these upper caste professors and administration, they have a very good, they have always this bogey and narrative that we don't get suitable candidates. That is why we come up with not found suitable, and this not found suitable is basically is another Brahminical idea or Brahminical ideology that has been sort of perpetuated and perpetuating exclusion in the Indian. NFS is nothing but not found, NFS as it goes, not found suitable, but not found an upper caste student or not found a Brahmin student is the very idea, which is why NFS, is being created. So imagine that IIT Vilai did not take a student from SC/ST community, despite there is a lot of applications from these communities and communities belonging to the scheduled tribes and scheduled castes. So in fact, IIMs, Indian Institute of Management, have also failed in upholding caste diversity. Out of 20 IIMs, only 15 extended reservations in PhD programs for candidates from SC/ST OBC communities, and this is absolutely anti-constitution. There has to be SC commission, ST commission. The government itself should come heavily on them, and there should be FIRs. There should be legal actions taken on them for denying the constitutional norms, for bypassing the constitutional provisions. Same is the case with the Film and Television Institutes of India, Institute of India, Pune, where there has been subverting of reservation is going on. So, in fact, some of us would remember Vipin V. Vetil's case in IIT Madras, where he basically he comes from OBC category. He got into IIT Madras through general category. Yet, these people dug his caste and started abusing and started discriminating on the basis of his caste, and it went so much so that, and this is the condition of a faculty who, it's not that he went to the Ivy League universities, he went to the universities in America and other places, and he has been facing the caste discrimination. Can you imagine what would be the condition of the students? So in fact, Vipin basically wrote a column in the News Minute, and he wrote about how the faculty recruitment process is basically caste ridden, right from seeking applications to the setting up the interview panel. Even interview panels, if you see in the recruitment process, in the PhD interviews, there is no diversity. Most of them are upper caste, just like this Padmaja Joshi interview, where Padmaja is denying caste, because how will she find caste? Because there is no caste diversity in her own newsroom. There is no diversity in on her panel. So of course, this caste blindedness is a privilege, which is what we call caste supremacism. So Vipin says that note in his column in News Minute, that note that the recruitment of new faculty is not strictly related to the demand from students for specific courses. Rather, faculty positions are advertised based on numerous opaque reasons. In such circumstances, academic bureaucrats have an incentive to tailor advertisement to suit the qualifications of their kin waiting in the wings, and when the majority of the bureaucrats come from one caste, there will be a tendency to tailor advertisements to suit known members of their caste waiting on the outside. This is how even recruitments happen. They wait for these advertisements in recruitments when their own candidate from the upper caste community will come. That was the time from the inside they will advertise it in such a way, with such a terms and conditions, that the marginalized caste students will automatically be excluded. They will not be eligible to apply. Such opaque reasons is what Vipin Vittil is calling. So this is largely, and this is how the idea of merit has been, this tyrannical idea of merit, as Sandel is writing his book, this has been produced, and which is what is basically now killing and kicking in the Indian campuses. Now I'll just take 2-3 minutes to sort of conclude by making some final comments, and I'm sure that, and I can't ignore this article, which was basically written by Professor Gopal Guru, that how egalitarian are the social sciences in India, where he basically says that social science practices in India has harbored a cultural hierarchy, dividing it into vast inferior mass of academics who basically pursue empirical social science, and a privileged few, which is the upper caste, are considered to be the theoretical pandits, the theoretical Brahmins and epistemological Sudras and all that, with reflective capacity, which makes them intellectually superior. So this is what, and he says that how India's, in fact, social science is based on egalitarian principles. There is no egalitarianism there in terms of the way these twice bonds, the Dijo caste, the upper caste, the Brahmins, the Savarna, that how they basically try to sort of reproduce their privileges through writing, in fact, constantly in a way which will be constantly legitimizing their own positions. So in fact, there is he says that there are institutions like Nehru Memorial, Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Simla. These are the institutions, Brahmin islands, where Brahmins and upper caste Savarnas go there, and in their relaxed, with the fantastic weather, great environment, and all the great facilities, they basically do social science churchas. So this is what is going on for so long, and this is where he is calling that how the Brahminical hypocrisy is which is ruling not only social sciences, but I'll say that all the campuses, or let's say the caste hypocrisy. So now just let me tell you that and he basically, Gopal Guru, is arguing that there are a lot of inner moral necessity which should make a conscious moral choice to use the sense of freedom to understand the Dalit experiences and so on and so forth. But the bigger point that I'm trying to make here is this, that how basically this caste blindedness of the upper caste teachers, administrators, and students, those are oppressive upper castes or Savarna caste, is so rampant to uphold upper casteness. And there is and I have made this point several times, that India's campuses of higher education in general, and IITs, IIMs, and central universities in particular, lack social empathy and moral solidarities from oppressive upper caste students, scholars, professors, in fact, administrators, right from the IIT director to the vice chancellor to the registrar to the deans, everyone. And there is and there have been bunch of Savarna upper caste professors are regularly writing on caste, but their caste based research methodology is fixed on gauging on the Dalit Adivasi victims or Dalit Adivasi system, but they will never, they will never have this inverted gauge on them, because Darshan Solanki's, Rohit Vemula's, Muthu Krishna's, they do not die because of just because that they could not perform. Because they die because there is a caste-based upper casteness, there is a Brahminness, there is caste-based supremacism, which is basically practiced by these professors and administrators and directors and all the policy making position holding upper castes in IITs, IIMs, and so on and so forth. So this basically needs to change, and Gopal Guru correctly said that social science practice in India is terribly exclusive, if not Brahminical and undemocratic in character. It is basically self-serving and self-satisfying, and it lacks a genuine egalitarian character. I think I would stop here, and we'll maybe uh, go into discussions later.
Thank you, Subhajit, for that thought-provoking, like talk. You have talked about the language of merit and especially how the upper caste composition of the power structures in university actually vitiate that democratic environment. I think with the more representation of people from the marginalized communities could kind of make a change in that direction, especially in terms of democratizing the universities, because that kind of a space of course should be created so that there would be more discussion and deliberations on caste, and that's how we can bring in a kind of a change. It was really a thought-provoking, very insightful lecture. Now I would be inviting Boopendra Kumar. Of course, he's a first generation learner. He has seen all kinds of odds and challenges. He has seen the inside the world of the educational spaces. So he has his own lived experiences and how caste works. Nobody would be knowing it much better than he himself, because as I said, he's a first generation learner. So without any delay, I would like to invite Boopendra Kumar to dwell upon the topic under discussion. Boopendra Kumar.
Thank you, Rehna, and thank you, CDS Center for the Study, for inviting me, and Revolutionary Jai Bhim for the celebration of Ambedkar Jayanthi. So mostly the previous speaker, Subhajit, has already dwelled upon the caste supremacism and how it is a kind of death knell to marginalized caste students in Indian universities. So I'll not be going into that. What I'll be doing is how we resist caste supremacism in Indian university, because when we say it's a kind of death knell, we are somewhere not giving the agency to Dalits, that they are just passive recipient of these epistemological violence, and they are always there to just to the death knell in these elite campuses. So my point is to more give the agency to the Dalits and how they resist the Indian public sphere, which is a kind of caste sphere in my view. And largely the university spaces are not wide from the Indian public sphere. They are the extension of the same public sphere. So if we have to talk about the Indian universities and Indian public spaces, so we can approximately take the political history of 100 years, that how the modern university system came into existence, and how they only privileged the few, and how even the idea of merit, which is upper casteness, as Subhajit rightly pointed out, that how this has been produced and reproduced again and again, and not only limited to the Indian universities. This is being reproduced to the universities abroad, because caste has no borders and boundaries, and caste is increasingly a kind of global phenomenon, because we are migrating. And as a first generation, as Rehna said, that I could come to the UK university, which was not possible for the previous generations. So we are somewhere enjoying these spaces which are more professional, which are more ethical in a way, but they are not void of these reproductions of caste, because we also face the same challenges, because the same people, mostly from the South Asia, they come from the same sort of caste class background. And then you have to, because you are labeled as brown people, South Asians, then you have to deal with the same sort of challenges, making other people understand that what is caste and how we face the internal colonization, so to speak, because there's a huge buzz about decolonization and how we understand the colonial invasion, violent colonial invasion, and how they accumulated the wealth and how they prospered. But it becomes a kind of challenge. So for us, universities, elite campuses like Delhi University and JNU, it was always challenge to speak the caste, because they were already assumed by the classness and castelessness of the campuses. So like as Pandyan and others, they call it the individualization of the caste. These spaces largely tend to individualize that caste no more exists here. These are the very romantic space where you love, you study, and you go on to work. So these are the very like experiences of upper caste. So I can recall when Abhijit Banerjee, the Brahmin guy, like who won the Nobel Prize, he came to JNU just to champion the Nobel and flaunt it. He was just saying that our experiences were very different. Definitely, I was thinking through that how your experiences were definitely very, very different, because they were mostly the Brahmin boys and girls who were not facing any sort of challenges when it comes to interacting and also building any sort of interpersonal relations. So the challenges which we face as people from marginalized communities, and the kind of caste supremacism, which is kind of the overall worldview of the caste in the Indian universities, which I am saying is a kind of extension of the public sphere, Indian public sphere. So I like take it as a kind of extension, and what I will try to say is that when we enter into these gates, the much bad gates of these universities, we somewhere tend to forget that we are not entering in a very different world, but we are entering into the extension of the same world. But the kind of romanticism which are already created by these privileged caste supremacists make us understand that you are in a very new world, so to speak, which can, like, you can do anything, you can like imagine anything, you can dream anything, but that dream is not for all. That dream is for some, just from Delhi University, from JNU, from Calcutta, like from Jadavpur or from St. Xavier's, to just fly to the Ivy League or just fly to the Russell Squares University in the UK. So what I will do, I will take these experiences of the marginalized community, and how do they navigate these caste supremacist spaces, not only in India, but also abroad. While doing it, I'll be saying that the resistance has been seen through two perspectives. So first set of perspective or understanding about the resistance is passive resistance, which people often trigger by death and suicide. So in the post like Rohit Vemla Indian like campuses, we have seen that how the certain sort of understanding and sensibility has been invoked in the Indian campuses, because before that there were some issues and there were committees from by the government, but there were no contested public sort of debate over the caste in the Indian campuses. I'm why saying this, I'm not saying that there was a lag, but the kind of uproar it has seen in post Rohit spaces in the Indian universities has completely or very differently changing the realities and discussions in the present scenario. So Subhajit, we have lost Rahna, or like shall we wait for her?
No, it's okay. You go on, I think. That's not a problem.
Yes,
Okay,
please, you
okay.
go on, sir, please.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So what I'll try is that how these spaces, which are largely supremacist, caste supremacist, is being navigated through by navigated and resisted by the people from marginalized communities. So what the kind of campus experiences is for the caste supremacist is no more the experiences for the people from the marginalized communities. So the kind of passive resistance, which we have seen that there's a kind of line queue, and that is being continued, that we are seeing from the like Payal Tadvi, Rohit Vemla, to like continuously and endless list we are seeing but we have to also understand that how we can see the resistance in the same sort of caste supremacist spaces by seeing the active resistance. So the active resistance, and what I mean by it, I'll be uh, elaborating it in my like further discussions, that when we see university campuses as very different from the other like Indian public sphere, we tend to forget that these are the extension of the same caste supremacism, and they are not meant to facilitate you, to not to like, they were largely bared for you, but by the like constitutional mandate, by the like struggle of the many anti-caste people, starting from like Phule to Ambedkar. More concretely, he assured in the constitution, but he also like warned us that until there is no social democracy, we will be only limiting it to the political democracy. And what we see the Indian campuses as largely the kind of this sometimes there's a huge data gap, and there's a huge problem which Subhajit has already talked about. So I'll not be going into that how they are not giving the proper representation for the marginalized people. But what I am proposing here, that whatever representation they get, whatever limited and like very unrepresented representation they get, they also get it in a very hostile environment. They are not welcomed in those spaces, because largely these spaces are not meant to them. They are largely the caste experiences, largely the campuses for the elite, and the same sort of meritorious, which are again the caste elites. So these unwelcomed spaces for Dalits and Adivasis, when they interact with the public here, with the intellectual public here, what sort of challenges they face, and how do they challenge these sort of challenges? So here, when we enter into the classroom is a very different place in a very concrete sense. The place is accessible because you have been given the kind of constitutional mandate and the kind of administrative liability that you have to fill it. Why many lacunae and many drawbacks into it? If you are assured even the limited spaces, you are just getting the entry into the classroom, but that is a kind of place you are getting. But the kind of space you enter, the space is completely very hostile. And the space, the idea of classroom as a space is very much violent, so to speak, because the pedagogy and the kind of knowledge production being reproduced in the same sort of classrooms are largely the Brahminical knowledge and largely the caste experiences of the caste supremacist. So how do you navigate the same classroom, which are largely meant for the upper caste, meant for the same caste supremacist? So it becomes a kind of balance from two points. The first, the pedagogical curriculum and pedagogy. The curriculum you are familiarized is very alien to you, because the kind of experience they speak out are very different. So it becomes a very challenge for the people from marginalized community to even understand and to grapple upon these curriculum, which are largely coming from the particular understanding and the kind of things they involve into this, they take for the study. And the pedagogy. So the pedagogy, which is largely the kind of Brahminical pedagogy. So the challenge of pedagogy and curriculum is a kind of haunting and violent sort of hostile environment for the people from marginalized communities, which they often feel as a kind of challenging. Then outside of the classroom, when you go on to interpersonal spaces and the social spaces in the universities, as I'll be speaking from my experiences in Delhi universities, elite campus like Hindu College, and then coming to Jawaharlal Nehru University, when you go out, the same people like who are studying with you are no more allied to you. They are like in the classroom, they are alien to you, because the kind of pedagogy and the kind of curriculum you are being taught is very different and could not match to your understanding and your worldview. And also when you come out of the class, there's no possibility for the mixing, because these people are very supremacist, caste supremacist, as Subhajit rightly mentioned, that they believe in the idea of merit, and by compromising the merit, you are taking their place, quote unquote, their place, because you are not meant to be here. So you are not being welcomed. You are not being welcomed in the classroom, and you are not also welcomed in the social or public sphere. So the whole university space is being weaponized. When I call it the university space as a weaponized for the marginalized. What I mean is that these spaces are not meant for them. These spaces are always supposed to welcome the same caste supremacist upper castes, and for their idea of merit. But by undesired entry of yours, you are being like in any case, you are being undesired for them, either in the classroom or in the outside public interactions. So what is the possibility? Because universities are the kind of possibilities in a way, because we can't really deny also that Subhajit told us that how the public universities could have been seen as a kind of moral spaces, which somewhere enhances the potential and also create the possibility for the nation building. But it is not being so. By seeing the political history of Indian campuses, they are being very hostile to the people from marginalized communities, and how they reproduce this upper casteness, this idea of merit is very much visible now. Because earlier, when there were no representation or very less representation from the people from marginalized communities, these apprehensions were not there. Like you see early campus experiences in 50s, 60s, or 70s in the Calcutta University or Jadavpur universities, or like St. Stephen or other campuses, you will not find these sort of biases, because there were very few people, or there were no people from the marginalized communities. So there were no debates on the caste supremacism. But by the entry of people like us, Subhajit and Rehna, we somewhere started questioning the kind of pedagogy and curriculum, and also the kind of space we have in the universities. So university as a possibility, to university as a weaponized space, and as a very hostile space for the marginalized communities. I'll be talking about how to resist these hostile spaces, and how we navigate these spaces, because largely they are not welcoming for you, but you have to survive in the same structures of caste supremacism, and you have to resist the death knell to the possibilities for the larger creation of personal opportunities, and also the kind of for the larger public morality. So how do you do that? Because it's a double way challenge, that you are not being welcomed either in the classroom nor in the public space. Then also you have to create the challenge, create the possibilities. So the possibilities comes through, in my view, is like this is the kind of normative understanding I'm drawing from the active resistance. What I mean by the active resistance is through like the alternative spaces, alternative personal and political spaces which we make as a people from marginalized communities to challenge this caste supremacism. So to build the personal and political consciousness about caste is a kind of first step, which we have to see as a kind of way forward. Because you see, we often hear about these endless incidents and the kind of unfortunate death of the beautiful minds. We somewhere like get depressed, and we see that these spaces are very hostile, and sometimes it becomes very discouraging that what is the point of going to the university if the people from our communities are dying. So I'll be largely challenging this view of the pessimism, and I am more onto presenting the normative view that how we can resist it, and we have to build the kind of personal and political consciousness from our early understanding about caste. What I mean by the early understanding, that uh, the people who are coming for studying in these elite spaces may not know that, like me coming from village, we are very much aware that how caste functions, and there are very less possibility of intermixing. But when people from urban areas, or especially from the metro cities, they come into the university space, their understanding of university campus becomes very different, because they may have not like seen the same sort of hostility into their neighborhood sometimes, because if you are living into the Dalit middle class neighborhoods, you may not see that sort of like everyday hostility. But definitely by saying it that you have not witnessed it, um, I don't mean that there is no hostility in the urban settlement and the like experiences of urban Dalits. And definitely they are also exposed to those spaces, but somewhere the kind of intensity and the kind of brutalness people from like small towns or villages comes from, they have seen it already. So for them, university spaces uh, are not very different spaces. For them, universities are a kind of way forward to build their personal potential and to culminate into the larger community building. So when I say that we have to build a personal and political consciousness, it starts from the early understanding about the caste, and how we are in a way always dominated by the same caste supremacist, and how we have to create some possibilities out of um, these dominating spaces. So I'll be saying that the first point would be to build the personal political consciousness about the caste, and the second point would be to build the collective resilience. And by building collective resilience against the caste supremacism, I would say that when you come out of the class, whether you are in the class or outside the class, you see that you are not having any sort of solidarity or help from your classmates or from your teacher. Then you have to build the kind of collective within yourself, within people from your own community, from the like-minded people who can like possibly lend you some help regarding understanding the pedagogy and also the curriculum we are being taught. And also you have to build these collective to become resilient against the caste supremacism, as Subhajit has already talked about. And by building these networks of solidarities for coping up with academic and social milieu of the universities, we in a way like tried to create the possibilities to deconstruct the merit, the idea of merit or the upper casteness, as Subhajit has already pointed out. So the challenges for the people from marginalized communities are two ways. Like they have to epistemologically challenge these, and also they have to challenge it personally. So when Ajanta Subramaniam talk about the idea of merit as upper casteness, for her it's a kind of epistemological question, epistemological challenge to deal with the idea of reproduction of caste and privileges. But it is not a question of her personal survival. Definitely, she will get the same benefit of the caste privileges and the caste network. So I was like going through her profile in yesterday only. Then I saw that she's a professor of Mehra family in the Harvard. So definitely, like whether they produce the scholarship in a way, they also build upon it. So for us, the challenges are on very different level of different sort. So by building these solidarities network only, uh, like we are doing it through the CDS and definitely these are the institutions, IDS, CDS, and people like if you see in the university spaces, we have been seeing that how like organizations like United Dalit Student Forum, and then later on Bahujan Student Front, and now BAPSA, they are creating these solidarities for coping up the academic and social milieu of the universities. And then when we try to deconstruct these ideas of merit and upper casteness through building the solidarities and coping up with the academic challenge, we also thrive in a way. We don't only experience it from the hostility of the upper caste supremacism to the solidarity of the Dalit collective, Dalit Adivasi collective, Dalit Bahujan collective in the different universities. You see from the post Vamla time, you see there are many organizations coming in IITs, Gujarat Central Universities. Definitely there has been many contention and contested sort of understanding about these organizations and how difficult it is for the people who are working in these organizations. But again, we have to create some possibilities for the hope, for the change, because for me at least, or like from my experience as a first generation, to resist these caste supremacism through the passive resistance would not be the option for the marginalized. We have to create the more active resistance, more active possibilities for the resistance, and we have to thrive in these same sort of institutions. We have to reclaim these spaces because they are not meant to you for at the first place. Then you have to reclaim it. So by reclaiming and by deconstructing this idea of merit, you also thrive beyond surviving. So by your mere survival, mere existence in these universities, when you perform better by the collective efforts, by the solidarities you create within yourself, you also survive, and also after a point you thrive into these same ghettoized space, same beepnized space. And then I'll conclude by saying that we have to fight to learn into these spaces, and also we have to learn how to fight. So by these words, I'll conclude and by saying that Baba Saheb emphasizes that how educate, agitate, and organize is a kind of motto for us, that we have not to fall into the passiveness of the caste supremacism, but we have to be very resilient and very resistant towards the the caste supremacism, and we have to register the death knell into the possibilities for reclaiming these spaces and making it more egalitarian spaces for our upcoming generations. Jai Bhim. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Boopendra, for putting across that very enriching discourse, especially your emphasis upon how the educational spaces are much more hostile. And then moreover, that Brahmanical pedagogy and the curriculum, how it excludes a discussion on caste, and then how it invisibilizes the lived experiences of the people who've been entangled with different forms of caste discrimination, whether it's overt caste discrimination or covert caste discrimination. At the same time, as you said, since we have started initiating the discussions and dialogue on caste, so that's something that it's very optimistic to think about, that there would be a kind of a change, even if it is not a sudden change, but there would be, of course, slow changes. Because the more people coming into the into the educational spaces will, of course, make some kind of the change or the other. And I would like to thank and Boopendra for for putting across these words so strongly, so clearly, and so succinctly. And of course, in our discussion on the caste and gender would always be on, and the Center for Dalit Studies will always be there, to facilitate this kind of a discussion and this kind of the change making or the pro change the dialogues. That's something that we always been looking forward. And I would also before moving to the closure of the program, I would like to thank Center for Dalit Studies, especially Ramu Lakshmaya sir and Rachega Bundru sir, for giving us this platform, and also for not asking us ever, for not asking us to ever compromise with the anti-caste principles. There's no deviation from any kind of an ethics or principles or morals. And as you said, that normativity is something that been a kind of a major discourse of Center for Dalit Studies, Center for Dalit Studies, Hyderabad. And we are so grateful to CDS for providing us a platform. And also, I would like to conclude this session by having a kind of a promise that this kind of dialogues and discussions will be taking place in future also. And I will be looking for both of your presence and cooperation words in future too, in the same platform. Thank you so much, Boopendra, Subhajit, and Center for Dalit Studies. It was an enriching session. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, CDS and Rena, and also Subhajit. Let's keep in touch and build the solidarity. This is what we have to do.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you
so much.
Boopendra.
Thank you, Jai Bhim.
Jai Bhim, bye.
Also, thanks, Bundru sir. Yeah, thank you.